40 years married. I'm fond of saying every relational skill I teach has been clinically tested. Belinda's the clinic. So I'm Terry Real. Hi, I'm the founder of Relational Life Therapy. I've been a couples therapist for over 40 years, teaching couples therapy and creating my own form of couples work called Relational Life Therapy. I've also been married for 40 years. And I like to say to a relational therapist herself, a great couples, individual, and family therapist, Belinda Berman Real, 40 years married. I'm fond of saying every relational skill I teach has been clinically tested. Belinda's the clinic. It's like learning to drive in Manhattan, which I did, by the way. That's how I learned to drive. My friend drove me from New Jersey to Manhattan and said, here, do it here. And I said, what are we doing here? He said, do it here and you'll be able to do it anywhere. So if it works in my marriage, odds are it'll work. What have I learned? Oh my God. Virtually all of the relational skills I teach, I've learned in a marriage. And all RLT therapists are like that. I am obviously trained and I've got decades of experience helping people. But the real foundation of whatever it is I have to pass on is what I live. Listen, if you come from a dysfunctional culture, well, so do I. If you came from a dysfunctional family, well, so did Belinda and I. And if I can do this, so can you. We were just saying the other day, wow, 40 years. I think we may be getting the hang of this. So here are some things that I've learned. My relationship is not the medium in which my loving, perfect partner heals me. That's a disappointment. When I first fell in love with Belinda, I thought, okay, as we all do when we fall in love, this is where I'm going to get it. This woman is going to give me all the things that I didn't get as a kid. Good luck with that. Sometimes she does. Sometimes she's an angel from heaven. And sometimes, let's just say she's a little less than angelic. We long for the divine. If we're really honest, we long for a perfect God or goddess who's going to unconditionally love us, complete us, give us everything we deserved and didn't get, and heal us. Doesn't work like that. My marriage is the crucible in which I get to work on myself. And sometimes as I work on myself, the irony is that working on yourself means that you deal with what comes up in you, the inner children in you. Wounded child, all wound, all hurt, pain. The 0 to 5-year-old little Terry that just experienced the abuse and neglect, all feeling. Sometimes I'm in my wise adult prefrontal cortex here and now. And unfortunately, no shortage of the amount of time. I mean, what we call the adaptive child part of me, the part of me that coped in that crazy family growing up. Fight, flight, or fix is the generic of your adaptive child. Think for a moment about yourself. When you're triggered in the heat of the moment, do you tend to fight, shut down? Fixing is not the same as a centered prefrontal cortex, thoughtful, let me see what I can do here. It's an anxious, frightened, codependent, if you're not happy, I can't be happy. And let me regulate you at my own expense. Fight, flight, or fix. None of these are mature responses. So the core skill that I live is called relational mindfulness. Look, I get triggered just like everybody else. I have an adaptive child that's a fighter. Belinda grew up in a violent family, so did I. We are fight meets flight. We're symmetrical. Screw you, screw you, screw you, screw you, screw you, screw you. And if somebody takes a breath, often a timeout for 10, 15 minutes, comes back in a different part of us. Not that adaptive child, jaw clenched, I'm not putting up with this crap. But okay, honey, let's make peace. What do you need? We call that relational mindfulness, remembering love. When you're triggered, when you're flooded, take a break, whether it's counting to 10 while you're there or literally walking out of the room. Belinda and I usually take physical breaks for 15, 20 minutes to recoup, to breathe, to remember who we're talking to. Wait, why am I talking? Am I talking from that adaptive child part to just nail Belinda into the ground and get her to, or am I talking to make things better and talking to someone I remember I care about? That's the first skill, getting recentered in the part of me that wants to make peace with Belinda. And what am I thinking when I get recentered? I'll tell you, I'm honestly thinking, how do I want to spend my time? Do I want to spend the rest of this evening proving that I'm right and arguing with this madman called my wife, or do I want to get through this tough moment and hang out and look at the stars together and have a drink and talk? How do I want to spend my evening? I'm in charge of how I want to handle myself. But the first order of business is dealing with the upsurge of hurt, anger, disappointment, and then the reaction of control, angry expression, retaliation, withdrawal, moving beyond all of that, remembering what's what, and then using a skill. Honey, I'm sorry. What do you need? Let's make repair. I've also learned how to speak up for myself. I was a walled-off, love-avoidant caretaker, and I was sure complained bitterly about not getting what I needed, but I seldom spelled out in a loving way what I did need. Honey, this is great. I really appreciate what you're doing. This would work better for me. From the I, with humility, not as the authority on Belinda and how she needs to be more relational. This is what I would like. What could I give you to help me give it to me? And then acceptance. I don't know about you, but my partner is woefully imperfect, much more imperfect than her husband, although she wouldn't say that. This is what I call learning to be with the partner you have instead of the one you deserve. Do I deserve some archangel from on high who will be endlessly supportive, always on my side, incredibly sexual, intellectually stimulating, and on and on and on and on and on? In other words, do I deserve to be with me? A female version of the perfect Jerry Reel? That's what I deserve, goddammit. What I've got is someone who is actually as woefully idiosyncratic and imperfect as I am. How good for me is that? Let me deal with that imperfection, living the serenity prayer. Let me do what I can. Let me get help if we need it. And at the end of the day, I decide to stay or go. Am I getting enough to make grieving what I'm not getting worth my while? We call that a relational reckoning. And if the answer is, and it's been, am I getting enough to make grieving what I'm not getting worth my while? Yes, I am. Then you grieve. You feel the disappointment of your partner's limitations, just like they feel yours. And you embrace what you are getting with appreciation and joy. You don't walk around like a hurt, angry victim all day. Yes, there are things that another partner would be giving me that you don't. That hurts. I feel lonely sometimes. So do you. But oh my God, look at all the wonderful things you are giving me and allows me to stay rooted in my own humility. I'm just as imperfect as you are, honey. I'm just as annoying as you are. We had friends who were celebrating their 40th year together, and our friend said the secret of his longevity is he literally did this every day. He'd wake up, splash some cold water on his face, look in the mirror, and say to himself out loud, well, you're no prize either. The great poet Auden wrote, I will love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart. Belinda is maddeningly imperfect. And guess what? So am I. Let's embrace each other, work with each other, fight for what we want, and accept what we're not getting, because what we are getting is more than enough. Thank you for listening. And at some point, we'll get Belinda on to correct everything I've said and tell me her side of the story.